Chapter 5. Can a boy in a bear suit disrupt a professional football game? Mom, I want to be a bear for Halloween, said Tony. A bear? Yeah, a bear. Why can't you be a ghost or a vampire? Mrs. Madison placed a plate of steaming pancakes on the kitchen table. Tony forked a couple of pancakes, dropped them onto his plate, and drowned them with maple syrup. Because bears are undeniably the coolest creatures on planet Earth. Says who? Me, Tony said, lifting a bite of pancake toward his mouth. A thin string of syrup stretched between his fork and plate. Tony broke the string with his tongue. Well, Mr. Me, said Mrs. Madison, bears may be cool, but there's more to this than you're telling me. Something's been bugging you for the last few days. Moms know these things. What's up, Mr. Me? Tony shrugged his shoulders. Come on, TB. My mom radar is pretty strong. My radar tells me that there are two things bothering you. Number one, I think you're upset because your father and I came down hard on you because you photocopied your back end. Number two, I don't think you want to be a bear for Halloween because they're cool. This has something to do with that TV show, doesn't it? Tony stared at his plate. Should he come totally clean and lay it all out before his mother? Or should he sort of lay it out before his mother? He opted for sort of. Well, Mom, Tony slowly said, raking leaves isn't so bad, but missing the late show is torture. You sure know how to hurt a guy. Well, Mr. Me, I didn't photocopy my butt. You did. Now you have to deal with the consequences. I didn't hurt you. You hurt yourself. I guess you're right. Now, what about the bear suit? Is there a late show connection? Not really, Tony said, choosing his words carefully. I saw a guy wear a bear suit on the late show once, but it was no big deal. No big deal, huh? And if I rent a bear suit for you, will it turn into a big deal? How could it, Mom? Come on, it's just Halloween. It seems to me that you're the one making a big deal out of this. All I want is for my costume to be different from everyone else's. Is there anything wrong with that? And don't forget, bears are undeniably the coolest creatures on planet Earth. No, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be different, Mrs. Madison chuckled. And bears are cool. No, you're cool, Mom, Tony said as he shoved a bite of pancake into his mouth, even though you're tougher than a prison warden. Mrs. Madison looked at Tony and smiled. So, Mr. Me, where am I going to get a bear costume? They aren't real common, you know. Remember that awesome costume shop at the plaza? I bet you could rent one there. I'd even chip in some of my allowance money. Your own money, huh? Mrs. Madison said, sipping her coffee. You are serious about this, aren't you? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'll rent one, but promise that you'll take good care of it. Tony got up and went over to his mother, grabbed her fingers, drew them to his lips, and kissed the back of her hand. I promise, madame, that I will do nothing to disgrace your royal name, he muttered in his best British accent. Oh, brother, Mrs. Madison sighed, wiping the sticky mess off her hand. Why don't I believe you? Smells good, Mr. Madison interrupted as he wandered into the kitchen. Where's Maria? She'll be in bed till noon. You know how Saturdays and teenagers are, Mrs. Madison answered. Mr. Madison snatched a piece of bacon from the plateful on the counter. So, what's new with you, TB? He asked. Two things, answered Tony as he sat back down to his pancakes. I'm going to be a bear for Halloween, and I get to go to the Chiefs football game. Mr. Madison raised his eyebrows. Did you say a Chiefs game? The Kansas City Chiefs were his favorite football team. Yeah, my class is going on a special field trip. I forgot to tell you about it. We get to see the Chiefs play the New York Jets next weekend on Halloween Day. Any kid that wears a costume gets a team picture of the Chiefs. Mr. Gore got a free tickets from the quarterback. They played together in college or something. Anyway, Mr. Gore says we might even get to meet some of the players and get their autographs. It's going to be great. Free tickets. Autographs? Wow, said Mr. Madison. Please, please, please don't forget to sign my permission form. I won't, Mr. Madison assured Tony. Do you think you could go too? Mr. Gore needs some parent volunteers. You know I'd love to, Mr. Madison mumbled with a dreamy look on his face. More than anything. But your mother and I volunteered to sponsor the Halloween party at the Children's Hospital. But you go ahead and have a great time. I will, Dad. You are one lucky guy, sighed Mr. Madison. That should be a heck of a game. A slight chill hung in the air. Puffy clouds drifted across the deep blue sky. Red, orange, and gold leaves fluttered to and fro on their journey to the ground. A yellow school bus packed with noisy kids and a handful of parent volunteers pulled into the parking lot of Arrowhead Stadium. Mr. Gore herded his class off the bus and gathered them around himself. We're in for a real treat today, he said. The Chiefs and the Jets are undefeated. This should be a classic NFL battle. I hope the Jets crush the Chiefs, Dean muttered. The Chiefs stink. They're just a bunch of wimps. Mr. Gore gave Dean the evil eye. Class, please do 3 things today. Respect people, respect property, and enjoy the game, Mr. Gore said. This is going to be a blast. Look, Mr. Gore, I brought my baseball glove, Spacey Casey beamed. Maybe I'll catch a foul ball today. Mr. Gore ruffled Casey's hair. You might just do that, Batwoman, he laughed. Let's go. Mr. Gore and Casey led the way into Arrowhead Stadium. Tony slowly scanned the stadium. He couldn't believe how big it was. It reminded him of a giant bowl filled with people instead of cereal. Wow! How many people does this place hold? He asked, adjusting his bare head from his right hand to his left hand. Duh, Dean replied. About 1 million. Dean, cool it, Mr. Gore warned as he led them to their seats. TB holds just over 79,000 people. And today is a sellout crowd. This place will be crazy in a short while. Mr. G's class settled into section 119, right behind the Chief's bench. Moms, dads, monsters, aliens, ninjas, ghosts, pirates, hobos, witches, and assorted others, normal and strange, quickly filled the stadium. The Jets took the opening kickoff and promptly marched down the field and scored a touchdown and made an extra point. Jets 7, Chiefs 0. The Chiefs answered the challenge and ground out 77 yards to the Jets' 10-yard line. On the next play, they scored a touchdown on a beautiful quarterback sneak by Brent Green. Mr. Gore jumped out of his seat and threw his popcorn on and out into the air. Did you see that? He shouted. What a drive! What a QB sneak by Green! I played college ball with that guy. The Chiefs kicked the point after touchdown. Jets 7, Chiefs 7. Crazy Daisy, dressed as a soldier, spied the fluffy white popcorn kernels showering the people below Mr. Gore. It didn't take her long to move into action. She hopped on her seat and yelled, Fire away! Then she launched her box of popcorn as far as she could. Mike Elway pulled his finger out of his clown nose, saluted Daisy, and then threw his box of popcorn toward the heavens. Cool, he mumbled. Mo, Anna, and Tony stood on their seats. On the count of 3, cried Anna. 1, 2, 3. And 3 more boxes of popcorn flew out over the crowd. Seconds, Arrowhead Stadium went nuts. Thousands of boxes of popcorn were launched toward the playing field. A blizzard of popcorn settled over the stadium. Orville Redenbacher would have been proud, Maud said in awe as he viewed the snowless snowstorm. Mr. Gore glared at Daisy, Mike, Mo, Anna, and Tony. I hope you're proud of yourselves. Look at this mess. They shrugged their shoulders. You started it, Tony said hesitantly. Mr. Gore shook his head, rolled his eyes, and turned his attention back to the field. The game rolled on. Both teams surged up and down the field. It was a Wild West sort of game. At halftime, the score was tied, Chiefs 21, Jets 21. At the end of 3 quarters, the score was still tied, Chiefs 31, Jets 31. But things weren't going well for the Chiefs in the 4th quarter. They couldn't score. Late in the quarter, the Jets were ahead, Jets 37, Chiefs 31, and the Jets were driving deep into Chiefs territory for yet another score. It didn't look good for the home team. Fortunately, the Jets fumbled the ball and the Chiefs recovered it on their own 10-yard line. Then the umpire called the 2-minute warning timeout. Ha! They'll never go 90 yards for a touchdown in less than 2 minutes, Dean announced. This game is over. I told you they were a bunch of wimps. Everyone ignored Dean. Tony nudged Mo. It's time. Are you going with me? Where? I'm going to snatch the football from the field. Then I'll get it autographed by the Chiefs right after the game. Yeah, right. I'm really going, insisted Tony. Without me, said Mo, shoving a bite of cotton candy into his mouth. I like living. Fine, I'll go by myself, said Tony. You're nuts. I might be, but who cares? I'll see you after the game. Mo gave the thumbs-up sign to Tony and said, Good luck, because you'll need it. Thanks, Tony said as he stood up. Then he yelled down the road to Mr. Gore, May I go to the urination station? Yeah, sure, Mr. Gore answered. I'll take him, volunteered Mrs. Peterson, sitting a few seats down from Mr. Gore. Anna, do you need to go? No, Ma. Okay, let's go, TB. Thanks, said Mr. Gore. He turned his attention to the ice cream cone that Daisy just dropped in his lap, and Tony and Mrs. Peterson worked their way up the steps toward the restrooms. I'm going to step into the women's room, said Mrs. Peterson. I'll meet you out front in 3 minutes. Thanks, Mrs. P., said Tony. I'll be out in a flash. Mrs. Peterson disappeared into the women's room, and Tony slipped back down the stairs toward the football field. A loud roar erupted from the fans when he reached the railing that separated the stands from the playing field. All eyes were on the field. He hooked his leg over the rail and was ready to drop to the field when somebody tapped him on the shoulder. Tony turned very slowly around, expecting to see a very upset Mr. G. But this was not the case. I'm going, said a ninja. Me too, said a princess. Mo and Anna. Wow, let's go, quick.